Alright, so we just got the frame inspection back from one of the frames we've been working on. It did fail. There's a few things on the list, so we're going to run in today and try tick off everything on the list and get the frame to a pass. Alright, so I'm not here for a full day, so I don't know if we'll get everything done. But what we'll do is we'll start at the top so the roofers can get everything done, and we'll work our way down. Alright, so we'll start up here, and in terms of the upstairs roof, everything was signed off, everything was good. That's what I've gone through and roofed everything. The one thing I need to fix here isn't part of the frame inspection. Originally what was shown on the plans is that this gable end was meant to run at the same height as the truss, meaning that that top plate there would have ran through and it ended up about here. And I'm a bit out of breath just from climbing up and taking all the tools up here. But if the top plate finished there, it means our box gutter would have been all the way down here, and obviously that wouldn't have worked. So what we've had to do is build the box gutter first and then build this gable end to follow, meaning that it's up about 200 or 300 mil from the top of the truss. So for this one here with the box gutter, that worked fine. We wanted to keep the heights the same because that height there marries in with that height. So we built the same thing over here, but it's just going to be too much of a nightmare to try to flash and finish that corner. So the roofers have left that open, and what I'm going to be doing is just cutting this down and dropping this gable end down so it's going to run the same height as the truss. Alright, so we will need to replace those studs. I did the first cut in the wrong place, I screwed that up. But what will happen now is this top plate will run through here and it's going to continue through and finish off in this corner and come back down that way. Which is going to be so much better to flash. It's going to be better for the house. It's obviously just not showing exactly what it shows in the elevations, but you get that sometimes. Things don't really work out and you're going to do small adjustments like this to make stuff work. Alright, so we hook on there. Over 1800. Alright, so that's probably the hardest bit done. It was a bit awkward working off the roof. We're just going to replace these studs now and do the same thing down here. 1768. Pretty good. $22.60. Alright, so doing those gables took a bit longer than I expected. I finished off that one we had to trim, and then there was a few that were half completed. We just had to run in, throw some studs and then throw some nogs in. They're all done. It took about 3 hours. It's midday now and I'm gonna stop, have some lunch. And then after lunch, we're gonna start going through some of these frame items that need to be rectified. One of the first things we're gonna jump into, and I'll get it up on the plan just to have a look at it. But there's a few load studs which are meant to be S17 hardwood, a very like strong bit of timber to hold a lot of weight above it. We used pine, which is what we use for most of the house, but it's not as strong. And it's definitely a mistake we made, quite a big mistake too. So if we have a look at the plan here, we can see there's a few studs marked as DS, and we've just put them in as a double stud. That's what we thought the markings meant. Now the last few frames I've done have had those DS marks, and in the legend it just referred to a double stud being pine. So we're using different plans, a different engineer, and what we didn't do is actually go through and confirm what the legend meant with those DS marks. So it's a big mistake that we made. Obviously shows that in each plans you get, you can't just presume anything. You got to keep checking everything. And the worst part is, it was just right here in the legend. We just never stopped to look at it. It is a double 90 by 45 LVL stud. So there's a couple of those to do. I'll jump on and do those straight after lunch. But looking at the time though, I don't think I'm going to get through everything on the list. We'll just keep ticking through everything, but I will go through at some point and show you everything that we did miss that has to be done, even if I don't get it done today. Alright, so they've all been changed, that's done. Next thing I'm going to jump onto is right here, and this is something I was working on in the last video we did here. All we need is a right angle bracket in this corner to hold that beam up. So we went through, I broke a few drill bits trying to drill in there, but we couldn't get it in because we ran out of bolts. So that was picked up on the list, it wasn't done, we knew it wasn't done. Bolts are here now, so we'll quickly bolt that off and tick something else off the list. I'm going to tighten it up for now, but we're one washer short, meaning we can't tighten one of the bolts. I will have to come back here for another day just to tidy up a few things, so we'll just leave that for now, and then when I get the other washer we'll come back and we can properly do this. Alright, so that bracket's done for now, 80% done. One thing I was worried about were these angled posies. They did supply those brackets to put on. They weren't screwed in too much, but we did those alongside 150mm bugle screws going through the posi into the beam. They were all sweet. Inspector was happy with that. One thing we do have to do though is this corner here where the beams are. We've done the same thing, a few bugle screws. The engineering didn't have any notes or no method to connect those together, but they've came back to us now and we've got some coach screws and we're just going to screw those together. I just had a look around site and in my car, and we don't have any coach screws, so I can't do that one today. I'm not too worried anyway. We will come back another day to finish stuff off. I'll just go through now and cut it off flush. We just left it long when we installed them. We weren't sure of the exact measurement when we were building it, so I'll just cut it off, and that's just one less thing to worry about when we are here next. Alright, I was just looking at the time, I'm probably going to head off soon. And I just went through the list to try to get a few small things knocked over. And one of the things I saw was missing strung back. So I had to look through, before even looking at the engineering to work out where it was missing, I did a double check because I thought we were all over all the strung backs. And the one we're missing is the worst possible one. We've got these two posies there, and we need a strung back, a bit of timber in between the posi that butts into that steel and into that beam. This beam through here is like helping holding that beam up. So we didn't install those posies till all the beams are in, and I'm going to play around with it now, but I cannot think of a way where I can physically get a bit of timber in those little sections there between the webs. This might be a bit of a disaster. We'll see what we can do. Alright, so if you don't know what a strung back is, it's a bit of a timber that goes in the middle of posi spans. It'll go against this upright and hard up, and the purpose is to stop the posi sagging and bouncing over time. So I need this strung back to go through the posi into the steel for a fixed point, and then also through this posi here and butt into the beam, and I've got to shoot it off from the beam so it's connected. So in other words, I need to get a bit of timber to slide through there, but both ends are blocked. There's literally no way to do it. So I think I might have to do it in 2 bits that kind of half join in the posi, and then maybe do a 3rd bit to laminate them together, band-aid them together. It's not going to be great, but I can't think of any other way we can do it. So I want to see if I can get a... Let's go from there to there. Let's go 500 and 600. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so this is the 500. This shouldn't be too bad if we go in that way, and then I'm gonna get rid of that nail, but I'm thinking of going hard to the steel and doing that. So that can go on that side. This is the one I'm worried about. Now it's gonna cross it. Oh yeah, there we go. That's not too bad. Ideally, we want this to go in one continuous piece all the way through. That's gonna be impossible though. So we're gonna do a couple pieces on both sides. And if we get both of those in like that, I'm hoping it will be enough. Oh no. Oh, I'm gonna have to hand nail this. Yeah, nice. If I put that in the middle there, we'll shoot through to it on both sides. And that's just gonna make this all one member. Make it a bit stiffer. Right, and we'll just get a few blocks in here too. Alright, so we're packed up. I'm gonna call it a day. But as promised, I will go through, I'll show you everything else that has been pulled up on this inspection list. Most of the stuff that was pulled up were things such as the whaler for all these roof beams here, and even the whaler onto that blockwork for the truss. It wasn't necessarily anything bad, but the engineer didn't really specify how he wanted those things to be met. So for this whaler here, he asked for a 140 pine, which we already have up there, and then the M10 Dynabolts that we have there too, with a 900 spacing. So that's all done, that's sorted. That's gonna be a tick off when the inspector comes back to recheck it. And for the whaling beam at the top there, pretty similar. I asked for a 140 pine with 100mm bugle screw per stud. We've like completely doubled that. We've done a 240 pine whaler and a double 100mm bugle screw per stud. So that one's good, that's got the tick. Some other stuff we have to fix up though. This is probably the most major one here. But this wall and this window, that was framed in almost after the whole frame was done, because there was a steel portal over there. Once the steel was in, we just kept going with the subfloor. But it does call for a double 240 LVL header across that window, which whoever framed that window up, they didn't even check the engineering. Obviously you got this big steel beam above it. I've got no idea why it would require that 240 LVL. I saw that build, didn't think twice about it. Other than that, the boys are missing one shear block on one of these walls. I haven't even looked to see which wall it is. No, it's not there. But we're missing one shear block, and then they did run out of Dynabolts or concrete screws. And for that little garage carport wall through there, we just need to get a screw either side of the cross brace. So we've got these. We had to get a few more, so they're here now, they're good to go. Oh, and yeah, obviously the last thing here is this roof hasn't been completed yet. When I was here last, me and Mitcho was smashing it out, and it got to about 4 PM on that day. We didn't really want to stay back and get it done because we knew we had to come back. Obviously scaff needs to go out so we can get the box cutter, but all the engineer really wants to see on this though is the speed race that goes across that, tying that roof off. And then when that's done, we still got the little parapets and returns to build up there. mean, apart from those small things, it's really starting to take shape. She's looking good. Roof's on. Windows are coming in a few weeks, and then once windows are in, this job is just gonna get flying along. I'm really keen to see how it looks once it's all cladded upstairs and we get this roof done here.